I'm doing a presentation on 3D printing and how it will affect you as designers and engineers and manufacturers of the future. The presentation is in 4 parts. The first thing is to explain you what 3D printing is, why you should 3D print, and what you can 3D print. And then, once you get interested, how to get started on 3D printing yourself. So, what is 3D printing about? Well, there are basically 3 technologies for 3D printing. The basic thing you have to remember is it prints layer by layer. So it prints one layer of something, then it puts another layer on top, and so forth, till you get a 3D design. Right now, short term, the fused deposition modeling is basically what you will see in the next few years being sold on in the shops and being available to you for printing. So I'll explain what that technology is about. Basically, you have a machine which will, like your inkjet printer, prints plastic on the places where it needs to. And then it moves a layer up and it prints a layer of plastic again. So it keeps doing that over and over and over again. And presto, you will have, well, this is a small table that they've printed just ready off the bat. So you turn it around and you set it up, and that's your print. I mean, that's your table. You can do cooler things. And the price tag right now for something like that is about €1,000. So for €1,000, you can have your own printer standing on your desk. Now, why is 3D printing so important? I'll compare 3D printing to basically 2D printing. If you look at 2D printing before my generation, it was something like this. This is a printing press. You made a plate of what you wanted to print. You put ink on it, you put a paper on it, and you could make the same copy over and over again. Then you got things like this. Well, this is my first computer. And the moment you got this, you didn't need to print one and the same thing over and over again. You could change the font, change the size, do anything you want, and basically over time, the printing press disappeared. Yes, the newspapers still use printing presses, but I still had a school which had a stencil machine. I don't think any of you guys have a stencil machine in your school. I surely hope not. So how does that compare to 3D printing? Well, in 3D printing, you make a metal mold. So you make 2 plates of metal, and you put them together, and you squeeze plastic into it. Now what happens? You have to make those metal plates. They're very expensive. So you will not do that for one little thing in plastic. When you do something like this, you will immediately make 5,000, 6,000 copies of the plastic thing you want to make. In comes the 3D printer, and what I'm telling you is that in your generation, you will see mass market plastic disappear. You will no longer buy your plastic cups the same size as everybody else in the same color that everybody else does. You will say, I want this shape of plastic cup, and I want my face on it, and I want it in this color. And it'll happen. So the first reason for 3D printing is non-mass market. You will be able to make things whenever you want to, and you will not waste things. Because if you make a mold, you will make 5,000 copies in plastic, and then in the end, you will try to market those, you will sell 2,000 of them, and then you will throw away 3,000 plastic cups, because you couldn't sell them. Now, that's not, in my opinion, that's not a reasonable way of using resources. The second reason is a new way of creation. You have to think totally differently when you're doing 3D printing. It enables you to work in different ways. I'll give you an example. Take a bicycle chain. You all have a bike, you know what a bicycle chain is. Traditionally, if you make a bicycle chain, it's 570 parts, and they need to be put together. You can automate that, do whatever you want, fine, but it's 570 individual parts. This is a 3D printed chain, ready out of the printer, working, one part, one print. Boom. So the idea I'm trying to tell you is that if you were to build the pyramids today, would you do it the same way the Egyptians did it? Now, think of 3D printing and then start thinking of how you will manufacture, how you will want to make things your way. The third reason for printing is on-demand objects. Now that you have a printer lying in your desk, you can print the things you need. Now, who says that you need 25 centiliters in a glass? If you're a small drinker, you'll want a glass of 10 centiliters. If you're a big drinker, you'll want a glass of 50 centiliters. When you need them. You don't need to keep all your plastics in-house just for the off case you want to use them. Whenever you need them, you go to your printer, print them out. And then you can recycle that plastic again when you don't need it. So what can you print? There's a lot of things. Look at the field of medicine, you can print bones, and you can print blood vessels. So you'll be able to actually do hip replacements on a totally different way. In art, you can use it in a lot of ways. I mean, just giving you an example, think of Andy Warhol meets the Chinese terracotta army. You'll be able to make terracotta armies in mass reproduction. You can make fields and fields of them. The same, slightly different, slightly morphed everyone, not a problem. In construction, you can print your own huts. You can make the printers big enough to print on concrete and sand and make them print small huts. As well as there were people in MIT working on printing porous concrete, which means that the concrete is solid on the outside, but it has large bubbles on the inside. So it makes it a lot lighter, but it is still stable to construct. The thing is, it's infinite. I mean, think of anything you want to do. I'll just give you two examples. There was a TEDx Kids in Brussels this year, and they told my son, well, here's 3D tin, try to make something. So the guy, in his thought, came up and said, well, let me make glasses with my name on. And the next thing they did was they printed them. They're right now at the Museum for Hedendaagse Kunst in Antwerpen. Proud parent. And here are some pictures. I mean, that's him with the glasses on. Even somebody else can wear them. He's on the website, he's in the museum. It's simple, a simple idea he had, and it basically came into reality. The second example is what we'll do in the workshop. It's called Project Shelter. You have hermit crabs. Now they have fewer and fewer shells. It's an hermietkreeften. They normally take somebody else's shell and live in it. Now there are fewer and fewer shells available to them because of pollution, because of fishing, all these things. So they start using cola cans, bottles, anything to live in. Now what the guys from one of the 3D printers decided was to design and print their own shells. So they're looking at, well, if you were to reproduce the shells totally from scratch, how would you do it? Would it need to be a standardized shell, or could you make something aerodynamic or with tentacles on it to, you know, take fishes away and all these things? So basically, I would invite you at the workshop to come and design your own hermit crab shells. Now the thing is, we will make them into CAD models, and they have 2 fish tanks in the US where they'll actually print those models out, put them in the shell. You have a camcorder cam there, you'll be able to see your creations in the fish tank and see how the hermit crabs react to that. How cool is that? So, you know, that's a hermit crab, just in case you didn't know. There are 3 things basically when you get into 3D printing. One is you have online applications to do your designing in. The second is basically design software like Google SketchUp or AutoCAD. And the thing, once you have your designs in place, there's a print service which will basically print your designs for you, or you can go for the hardware and you can buy your own printers. Now, if you're interested, you are gladly invited to walk into the red room just across whenever you want to and see the printers in action, ask questions, whatever you want. I hope that was inspirational enough for you to get an idea. If there are any questions, don't hesitate to ask.